Hey campers, George here, back in the man cave. Yep, looking at some knives. Got to get going on my videos. I found these two. Forgot I had them. They're pretty cool. Let's check them out. So these two knives, little unusual favorites. This guy's interesting, and this guy, well, Saber, Japan, right? Nobody shocked there, and it's a very, very nice knife. Here it is here. See that? Look at the blades on this thing. Yep, slimline trapper. Sabre, Japan, and it's a 614, which makes it that. Here's the tank stamp. Very nice. Look at the handle. It's in very good condition. Blades have great shape and everything. Look at that. I really like Sabre, especially the Japanese stuff. They don't, they're very distinctive. They have that square look to them. Well-made, solid knives. This guy just basically needs a quick cleanup and sharpen. Clean the blades up, make them shiny, the usual story. Very cool. Gonna do that. And then I have this guy. Look at this guy. Look carefully at it. Okay. The $8 was, I think that's what I paid for it. Might have been less because I think I bought a couple of knives. Can't remember. But it's a little beat up. And it was rehandled. Look at this. They didn't finish anything on it. And it's a yellow plastic, right? It's, see that? Yeah. They didn't even stick it down to make it look nice. It looks like one of mine, right? And I thought, I wonder if I could clean this up the way it is. So I did a quick rub on this side. There it is there. And it's pretty rough. They almost tried to make like it was imitation stag. They got these, hard to see, but you can see they're like ground out parts all over it. I don't know, maybe for grip. Anyway, I gave it a quick rub and started to round it off. And I thought, it would work, but I don't like the plastic. And I thought, you know what? I got me some G10. And I'm thinking, maybe I can put G10 on here, and that'll clean it up really good. I mean, this plastic sticks out above here. It was a pretty rough rehandle. And I suppose they were using it, and it was just their work knife. Now, the really cool thing about it, there it is there. 3 blades. What the blades are, well, I'm not sure, because they've been modified, changed, deleted, I don't know. And I tried to find this knife. It is get this. Yep. It's a keen cutter. And if I remember, I found this in a box of, well, we don't really care about them. And you can see it's got this long Texas toothpick tickler. And it's got this, which I think is kind of sort of a pen blade. And then this one, well, I'm not sure. It looks like a drop point, a little drop point. Other than that, they've got good shape. Be able to clean them up and sharpen the blades. Not worried about that. The problem I'm having is finding this knife, because are these really the blades? I'm not sure. And like I said, 787 on the back, I think. Maybe not. 784? I don't know. Right? But I think it's 787. Really can't find anything. It's kind of a whittler, stockman, cattleman, I don't know, because the blades, well, who knows, right? So I think I'm going to put these on it. And I don't really want to take the whole pin out and everything. I'm going to see if I can get these off, because they're pretty thick, without taking the pin out. So just grinding the pin out here on both sides, pulling it off, using them as the blank to cut this out, putting this on and reshaping it and putting it back together and sharp and shiny, right? So that's the plan. Let's have at it. Okay, so here are the two ne'er-do-wells that we want to clean and do whatnot to. And this one, like I said, is the Saber brand Slimline Trapper. Really like this. It's a pretty knife. So we're going to go ahead and do this guy. We'll clean him up and get him all clean and shiny. You're ready to be sharpened. So that's what we'll do first. And then we'll do the handle replacement on this guy, clean him up and sharpen him as well. So here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to work through this guy. I'm going to start with 400 because it's got some heavy stuff on it. And then we're going to double up to 800 to 1,000 and double up again to 2,000. And then we'll go to 7,000. I've got some 600 wet dry. And I'll use this to clean the well. Just double it over and clean inside the well here. So I'm going to start off on the blades. And I've got my 400. I'm just going to very lightly go over and get rid of as much of the stuff as with the heavier stuff. And, you know, clean up the edges here, that sort of thing. And when you're using like 400 or anything lower than that, no pressure. Keep it as light as you can, and so that you don't give it more scratches that you have to work through later on. So don't forget, you want to get into all the nooks and crannies. So if you're not taking the knife apart, you can turn the blade like that, gives you more access to the hidden stuff. Don't forget these underneath here. Now, it really makes a difference when you pay attention to every little bit. They all help. Support the blade, and here we go. You can go up, down, around, however you want to start. I just recommend when you're done, you want to clean it up with some long strokes there, just to get everything evened out. Just takes a little persistence. Be careful, you're dealing with a sharp blade. Always keep that in mind, because it stings. And here where the ricasso dips into the actual shape of the blade, you want to get in there. Now when you use, like I'm going to end off with mothers. Mothers gets in there pretty good, so it gets into all those little spaces. And just, you can do this. I just like to work back and forth, up and down. I don't need to do this a lot, I'm just initial clean. And then you've got a sharp point here, so if you just put it down like that, you can go up here without catching on to that. And then you, same thing on the other side. And you can see it's starting to clean up already, and we haven't really done much. Now, the nail nicks, people tend to forget. I like to try and clean them out. It's not easy, but even a little bit of cleaning makes the difference. These are handy to have. This was given to me in a mail call from Kentucky. I believe it was Dwight. And they come in different sizes. It's just a Stanley screwdriver, jeweler's screwdriver set. The nice thing is they're all different sizes, which allows you to get into the well, because they're all different sizes, and you can scrape the bottom and that sort of thing. I like to use them as the initial clean, and then I'll use wet dry just to shine it up. So we want to get into that nail neck. Fortunately, it's not sharp. And you can see here, there's all this build-up. And the heavy stuff, the screwdriver will get off. And then I just take this, fold it up, and just rub it along there. And now you can see it's a lot cleaner. Doesn't look that dark anymore. So we're done with that blade, and we do the same thing on this guy, and then we'll do the rest. So here you can see the blades, and that's just very quickly with 400, and they're already starting to shine up. Now I'm going to do the rest. I want to tape these up because I'm going to be working the wells, and you don't want to be running your hand across there. You want to avoid the handle because you can see how this has been worn away when they cleaned it up to shape it. So try to avoid the handle. You can tape it up. Initially I don't do that, but if I'm worried about scratching it because it's difficult, I'll cover it up. We're just doing that initial clean. Now on this here, I'm just going to bend my sandpaper. I want to try to avoid the handles here. So you want to just stick to the middle here, very lightly. You notice, that's why I tape it up. I won't be paying attention, and I do this. If I haven't taped it up, I'm probably going to cut myself. You can see it doesn't take much. And now we've got to get into the well. I'm not going to touch this. It's nice and clean. You know, the higher grits, the 7000 and mothers will take care of that. And of course your pins. Got to get into the well now. You can see I've folded it up. This is a pretty small piece. I want to get in on here and just give those a quick rub. And you can see they're getting shinier. Now I want to get into here. So I just get paper and I just fold it over until I have a fairly tight fit in there. Maybe one more. And all I'm going to do is get it in there. And when I go back and forth like that, I'm actually rubbing both sides. And if you push really hard, you're going to rub on the bottom of the well where the springs are. And don't forget these little areas here and all the way to the end. Your hand slips you, that's why. So here we are. Here you can see a little bit of shine. I'm trying to get you, see if we can see the shine in the bottom. Yeah, kind of hard to show. So there we are. We're basically done with our 400 and the well. Now I'm going to step through. I'm going to double up to 800 to 1,000 and then double up again to 2,000. I'll just show you the end results. One thing you can do is turn the knife like this, and you can see how it lifts up the springs here, which gives you better access here, because they're not always level. And that way you can get to those pieces a little bit better. That you drop it down, you can do the rest. Watch out the handle, George. So here we have it at 800 to 1,000. Starting to really shine up now. If you look carefully, there is still scratch marks. And the longer you go, the deeper, the higher the grit, the more you're going to get rid of that. And like I said, it just takes a little elbow grease. 2,000. And then we'll head on to 7,000. I'll show you that. And here we are with the 2,000. The shine has got a lot better, a lot smoother. It is cleaning up nice. So now, we're on to the 7,000. There you can see how we're starting to see reflections, and now in the blade, the mothers will clean this up perfect. Going to go through it all and show you the end result. And here we are. 7,000, lot of shine now. You can see there. Reflections coming through better, much smoother. So this guy, we'll stop with him now, and we're going to start on the other one. We're going to replace the handle and everything, get him cleaned up, and then we'll finish them both off with mothers and then sharpen them. So now we have this guy, and you can see there's a lot of pitting and stuff on these blades. They're going to take a lot of work, but let's get rid of these handles and this $8. So what I'm going to do, it's just one pin, is I'm just going to grind these down, and hopefully we can pull the handle off. Like I said, use them as a blank to cut this, and then we'll drill the hole, put it on, glue it, well actually glue it on and pin it. So, here we go. Don't forget your safety glasses. Things fly off here. Oh, huh. Oh. Ooh. Huh. This might work. Well, that's not good. Well, we can still use it. One thing I'm looking at, Joe, if you look at the pin, it got bent. Can you see that? We might have to replace it. We'll see if we can get it to work. This pin just holds the spring at the top here and at the back. Nothing here. And it's not going to affect the blades as long as the spring is okay. Kinda looks fine. Okay, we have the dimensions in our punched pinholes. So we're going to cut these out on the outer of the black stuff, which means it's going to stick out a little bit, but then once we mount them and glue them on, we can trim everything to match. So let me do that quickly, cut these out. We'll drill them and then hopefully they'll mount. Well, the plot has thickened. One layer of this is not thick enough. 2 layers is still not quite thick enough. So I thought I have some thin plastic. I'll put that in and do that. It's almost level, but I'm worried that when I clean it up, it's going to be lower than the bolster. So here's what I'm thinking. That on there, and it's going to be a little bit high, but it gives me room to reduce it. I can always reduce it, but I can't add to it. So it looks like we're going to do this. And it also means we're probably going to replace that pin, which is really not a big deal, he says. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, yeah, we have them here. And I'm going to super glue them together. And then we'll drill that hole. And then we'll get them to mount onto here, and then we will shape them. So I just want to clean them off. I scratched them up so that they would have something. I just want to make sure there's no nastiness on there to stop the glue. Just using some isopropyl alcohol. It's a good cleaner upper. Just takes any goop off. That'll stop it from gluing together properly. So I'm just using Super Glue Blue. It is the liquid, don't use the gel. Gonna let these sit for a minute or 3. And then we'll drill the holes and cut them down, trim them down until they fit tight. So while I was waiting for these to set, the boss dropped in. She said, "Why are you standing around? I don't pay you to stand around. Start on this while you're waiting." So I went through to 1200 on this one. And I'm going to stop there. We're going to get the handle on everything, then we'll finish that up. So, you know, bosses will be bosses. Okay, we got these two set. Now we got to drill the holes, and then we got to get these sitting in here. And that means trimming these down until it's a nice tight fit. Get them on and glue them on, and then trim the outsides to match this. So here we are with the handles roughly on. Unfortunately, we got a little problem. See that? For some reason I glued that yellow piece on too low. So we have a gap through there, but I have a lot of dust from filing. So I'm going to fill that gap once I get this pinned on and glued on, and before we start shaping. Here you can see what I'm talking about. Don't know how that happened. So I have some magic dust here, and I've got the super glue. Just going to put it along here, put the magic dust on, mix it in on there, and let it dry, and then shape it again, hopefully. Don't want that. Let that dry. Okay, so I filled it in. It's okay. It looks better. So let's get this glued onto here, and then we can shape the handles. One thing I've got to do is just bevel out the holes here, so when we pin it, it actually has something to hold it in. So I'm just using this little thing to give it a bevel. So I'm just going to let that set, then we'll just finish off these pins. Okay, I glued it, but I had some real gaps that I have to fill. So I let that dry. Now I'm going to pin these, which I'm going to have to flatten these down so that they are flat, and then pin them. So here we are now with the basic shape. You can see where I filled it in there. That'll go away eventually, I hope. So now I was getting really close to the steel and starting to scratch it up. So I'm going to go to sandpaper now. I'll start with 80 and start rounding things off, and then we'll work our way up again. Okay, here we are. Now, you saw I just quickly went through this and started cleaning it up because the boss insisted I don't stand around. Then now we got the handle, the shape we want it. Looks pretty cool actually. And I scratched up a lot. I had to really work the bolsters because the files will do that. So now we need to clean it up. We're going to go through the usual story. Like I did before, don't need the 400, but I need to go to 8 to 1,000, 2,000, 7,000. And then we'll be ready for mothers and the other guy, remember? And then we'll sharpen them. I'm going to do that right now, and I'll show you the end result once I've done all of this. Unless, of course, you would like to do it. No? Don't blame you. So here we are at 2,000, right? Oh, no. We went up to 7. Looking pretty cool. Cleaned up very nice. And the handle, well, it's okay. Very nice. I like this knife. It's a pretty knife now. So what we got to do now, you can see we got no snap. But what we're going to do now is go over this and remember this guy? With mothers. Then we'll oil them, see if we can get the snap going back on this guy, and then we'll sharpen them. So when you're using mothers, doesn't take a lot. A little bit of mothers, that's a lot. And a couple of rubs. And look at that. It's quick. It takes off a very fine coat. It polishes, so it doesn't take a lot. You can do it all over the knife, including the handle. Just be very careful on the handles. This stuff will make the handles hot very quickly, and you don't want to do that. And you rub over these too long and it gets too hot, you're going to transfer all the filings from these into the handle. So be aware of that. Just take your time, go slowly, don't let it overheat. You can just slowly like this. On a dark handle, you probably won't even notice it. And you can see how consistent that shine gets. It's pretty cool. And I'm just going to do the handles, the bolsters, and then the blades. Same thing with the blades. You just give them a quick polish and it'll shine right up nice and consistent. And here we are now. You can see what I mean on the blades. You don't get hot spots. It's a little bit more even and gives it a really nice shine. My camera doing whatever it wants. So, just needs to be oiled. Do that right now. I've just got a little oiler here. I'm using mineral oil. You just want to put it in the bolsters. Careful. Work him a little bit. Although this one has good snap already. This is just going to help. Plus, keeps that lubricated. You just let it work in there and then it'll help, certainly help any snap that you do have. This is I love this knife. I like what these guys do. So, we'll let them sit. We'll do the keen cutter. And then we're going to sharpen them. So, we got this light colored handle. With mothers, you got to be careful. I'm going to go through it quickly and show you the end result. Here we are at 7,000. Cleaned up pretty nice. Shiny. Let's put some oil on it and see if we can fix the walk and talk. Hopefully. This is the one that's struggling. There we go. I suspect this was the blade that was used the most. It's got a lot of pitting in it, and it's obviously worn. But there we are. Let's sharpen them, and then we all be good. Here's the Saber. They're pretty good, I think. Yeah. And nicking it. There was the Saber. Not so good. But, oh, that's pretty good. I don't know about these little guys though. Ugh. They feel sharp. See what the other one's like. That'll do. So there you go, campers. Nice little Saber Japan. Typical for a Saber Japan. The feel, I want that square feel, that solid feel. They do a good job, and of course it cleaned up nicely and sharpened nicely. So another addition to my Sabers. They be growing. Even from Pakistan. Who knew that, right? And then we have this guy, where we cleaned it up and, of course, put the handle on. I kind of like the idea of these handles with the combination on them. The G10's pretty easy to work with, and I kept it yellow because that's what it was before. Not really sure if that was the original color of the handle. Certainly wasn't an original handle. But look how nicely this thing cleaned up. Well used. A lot of pitting on this blade. Now here's the interesting thing. You can see the tang stamp there. Okay. And on the other side it says 7/8 something. Right? And I thought it was 787. Didn't find anything. 784. Didn't find anything. And then I thought, wait a minute. Don't they use like symbol things and stuff like that? Well, I typed in number 78. And what do you know? Something came up. Now, what came up was, it took me a while to find a 3-blade keen cutter like this. And it came up, and it has the 3 blades. They talk about the long clip. They talk about a sheep's foot. Yeah. I think this might have been a sheep's foot. And then they talk about this guy here. And they call it a 3-blade stockman, cattleman, whittler. This is not really a whittling blade, but more of a clip, a true clip, you know, I want to say the Saber style clip. But you can certainly whittle with it. If it has a sheep's foot, I'm just not sure. I think this is the sheep's foot. And I suspect that's why it was used enough. Sheep's foot are great. They can do just about anything. And if you use them outdoors, they have that sheep's foot has that really nice point on it. You can dig, poke with it. You can do all sorts of things, and it has a flat cutting edge. So they're handy to have. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But hey, it's a keen cutter. I believe it's from like 85 or after, because of the tang stamp. It just has that keen cutter, nothing else, and it doesn't say E.C. Simmons or anything like that. So very plain, and that was typically after they were bought, and they actually let other people use that symbol. I saw some craftsmen, a craftsman one that had keen Kutter on it, and it was a commemorative 100-year thing. So who knows? But very cool. I kind of like the way it ended. I mean, it's obviously not original anymore because why? The handle. But you know what? I still have a keen Kutter. So there you go. Nice little project. Worked out pretty good for a change. My pinning actually worked pretty good. And the sharpening, well, it's getting better. I just need to be more patient and pay a little bit more attention. And then hopefully it'll work. You all be safe out there. Sharp and shinies. You know the story. And when you're working on them, you forget that there's a blade open and you're holding it there. You know, keep them covered. Especially if you're going to be doing work on them like filing, putting on a handle, and you're filing and shaping. And not only does it save your hands, it also saves the blade because the file will slip and you catch them. I spent quite a while cleaning up bolsters that had file scratches on them, and they cleaned up pretty good, so no problem there. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'll be back working on videos. This was a tough week for me. I had a lot going on, and I had to do some work stuff. My schedule changed, and hence not very many. In fact, I've only put out one video, this being the second one for this week. I did put out some shorts. I'm working on some more shorts, and I've got lots of projects coming up, so there you go. Good news is I'll be going to San Diego probably in just over a week, going down to see the kiddos, and we'll spend 5 days there. Got to help them out with some stuff and spend some time with them. I normally go maybe twice a year. I'd like to go more, so trying to do that, but it kills the budget. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Always, always appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.